Hi, this is Christian, and welcome back to NFL Updates Express, your weekly dose of NFL news. Coming your way, Divisional Round predictions. You like that? It's the Minnesota Vikings, the 6th seed, fresh off of an upset, going into New Orleans and knocking off the Drew Brees-led Saints, and they'll take on the number 1 seeded San Francisco 49ers at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California. Now the Vikings, I am so impressed by their performance. I don't think many people outside of the 53 men in the locker room and coaches gave them much of a prayer going into New Orleans and knocking off the Saints at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. It's such a tough place to play there, and somehow, some way, the Minnesota Vikings were able to get it done with Kirk Cousins searching for his first playoff win, coming through in overtime and getting a clutch win, throwing a dot in the corner to Kyle Rudolph. Now, there was a little controversy on whether it's a push-off, but it seemed a little light to me. Some people may disagree, but at the end of the day, it's the playoffs. You let the boys play. Now, the 49ers, they had a bye week, and so they're going to be fresh, and that's going to be huge for their rushing attack led by Raheem Mostert coming out of nowhere and leading their rushing attack. They also have Tevin Coleman, Matt Breida, and Jeff Wilson in the backfield as well. Jimmy G will be a hot story as he's been a little up and down, but he's made plays when he needs to, and that's why the 49ers are the 1 seed and 13-3. And I think this will be a fun game. I really do. I'm excited to see this one. The rushing attacks will be key, and whoever has the better day on the ground will probably emerge victorious. Now, the 49ers were my Super Bowl pick, and I don't know. It's tough because I feel like the Vikings are on a roll right now. They just went into New Orleans and got a huge upset win, and so the monkey's kind of off their back and they can kind of play loose, whereas the 49ers, this is their first playoff game in a couple of years, and so the emotions might be a little strong for them, whereas the Vikings, they're a little loose. Kirk Cousins, he got his first playoff win, so who knows? We could see an upset here. But when it's all said and done, I just think the 49ers have been the more consistent and better team all season long. They'll be fresh and healthy and ready to go. And so I'm going to take the San Francisco 49ers, my Super Bowl pick, to get the job done here at home. It's a battle in the AFC. The Ravens, fresh off their break, they take on a hot Tennessee Titans team with Ryan Tannehill after going into New England and knocking off the dynasty of the New England Patriots and Tom Brady. Now, can he get it done here against the number 1 seeded Ravens? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. Now, the Ravens, they have the presumed MVP candidate and most likely winner, Lamar Jackson, who has had an amazing season up to this point. The Ravens' rushing attack is one of the best in the National Football League and led by Mark Ingram and Lamar Jackson. This one should be another great game for them. Now, the Titans were able to shut down the rushing attack of New England. Sony Michel wasn't able to get much going, and James White only had impact in the passing game. And so if they can replicate that success against the rushing attack, then the Titans certainly have a chance in this game. Now, for Ryan Tannehill, he didn't have his best game against the New England Patriots, but he didn't need to as Derrick Henry ran all over the place, and he'll need to somehow, some way, do that against a vaunted Ravens defense. Their front seven is dominant, their secondary is great, and so it's going to be tough sledding for this offense of Tennessee. Now, who's going to win this game? I really like the Ravens here. They were my Super Bowl pick at the beginning of the playoffs. And Tennessee, well, I didn't expect them to get this far. Obviously, I had them losing to the Patriots last week, and I didn't even have them making the playoffs as well. And so I'm really impressed by them getting all the way to the divisional round this season. But at the end of the day, I think their season stops here in Baltimore. The Ravens get a convincing win over Tennessee. It's the Houston Texans and the Kansas City Chiefs. This should be a great one. Now, Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes, well, in my opinion, I think they'll be taking over the AFC before too long, and it seems like this will not be the first matchup we'll ever see between these two guys in the playoffs. The Texans, well, they stunned me coming back from down 16-0 against the Buffalo Bills and getting a huge win to silence the haters and the doubters. Now they take on a Chiefs team with a potent offense and trying to get a big upset here. Now the Mahomes train, well, I'm a big fan of Patrick Mahomes and what he's done fighting back from his injury and now looking better than ever. Now, I think the Texans could come in here and get the job done. Their defense really buckled down in the second half, and if they can continue that momentum against a hot Kansas City offense, then they certainly have a chance. Now, Deshaun Watson needs better protection from his offensive line. He was pretty putrid against the Buffalo Bills all game long, including the playoffs. He was very fortunate to spin out of it using his will and guts to get the job done in overtime, but it's got to improve against a Kansas City team that can really make you pay. Now, I really like the offense of this Chiefs team led by Travis Kelce, and it'll be a tough game for both teams. It's going to be a back-and-forth game. It should be one to the bitter end. But when it's all said and done, who's going to take home the W and advance to the AFC Championship game? Well, I like Kansas City at home to get the job done. I'm just about that action, boss. Marshawn Lynch, Russell Wilson, and the 5th-seeded Seattle Seahawks travel to Lambeau Field to take on the 2-seeded Green Bay Packers, Matt LaFleur, Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams, and the crew. Now this one should be a fun one. I don't know if the Packers are as good as their record indicates, but it doesn't matter. 13 wins is 13 wins. Aaron Jones has really impressed me all season long with 19 total touchdowns, and he tied Christian McCaffrey for the most touchdowns this season. He's really been a big factor, and he'll need to do it again against a strong Seattle team with their defense really reaching a peak. And Russell Wilson didn't have his greatest game against the Philadelphia Eagles in the wild card round, but again, he's just Mr. Clutch. He finds a way to get the job done. He knows the situation. He's very rarely going to turn the ball over. And at the end of the day, the Seattle Seahawks really have that championship pedigree, already having been to 2 Super Bowls under head coach Pete Carroll. Now the Packers will be fresh, but the Seahawks, I believe, have the momentum, and I'm just not sure who's going to win this game. I was going to go Packers, then I switched to Seahawks, and it's tough because I had the Saints being here, so I didn't really expect this matchup to occur. So who will I pick here? Well, the Packers seem to be the better team, but Seattle just seems to find a way, and Russell Wilson being in the MVP conversation, I just feel like he's going to get the job done somehow and get a narrow win over the Packers in the cold. The player of the week is no other than Vikings receiver Adam Thielen. Now, he's been dealing with a lot of injuries this entire season, but now he's fully healthy, and it showed for this Vikings team as they attempt to make an improbable run to the Super Bowl. His 7 receptions for 129 yards, including a big reception in overtime, setting them up inside the 5-yard line, gave them a huge upset win as the Vikings advanced to play the San Francisco 49ers in the divisional round. Wild Card weekend was certainly fun, and it kicked off with the Buffalo Bills and Houston Texans, and Deshaun Watson going all Michael Jordan on the Bills defense, coming through in overtime, winning it 22-19 on a Kaimi Fairbairn field goal. Then, in the next game, it was the New England Patriots falling to the Tennessee Titans in a tough loss for them there, 20-13. Then for the NFC games on Sunday, it was a big-time upset as the Minnesota Vikings went into New Orleans, knocking off the Saints on a Kyle Rudolph catch in the back of the end zone, 26-20. And then finally, the nightcapper as the Seahawks and the Eagles. And the Eagles, another tough defeat as Carson Wentz was injured. Josh McCown had to come in, but the Hawks with DK Metcalf were able to come in and get the job done on the road, 17-9.